Okay guys, welcome back to the Pearson beginner guitar course. This is the final part of this level 1 series of the course. By the time you reach this stage, hopefully we would have tackled any of the bad habits that a lot of other guitarists would have picked up without lessons. I'm going to run through everything that we've just actually covered in the level 1. Okay, the first thing we did was fretting. Placing your finger just behind the fret, making sure that your fingers are in the middle of the string as opposed to forward or backwards, so that it's not muting strings above it or below it. Then we also looked at correct hand position, so good way of starting with is making sure that the palm is in here, the thumb just over the neck, and you've got loads of space up here, but make sure you don't touch the bottom end of this fretboard here, so you've got to lift off, bring the thumb further down, and then make sure you're placing it on the point. That's a very good foundation there for correctly fretting, so that you don't get any of this sort of horrible buzzing just behind the fret, on the tip, no problem at all. Okay, we also covered 3 chords: A major, E major, and D major. And that's what the chords were for that Coldplay song that we played earlier, just to sort of get used to changing. There were also a number of tips on how to change from one chord to the next, which you need to remember. One was having the idea of a pivot point, which we used as the first finger on all 3 of those chords. Only has to move up or down, but it stays on the same string. So we use that as our pivot point to play all of the other chords. Bear that in mind, that you're not lifting off and readjusting everything each time. You just have the first finger down, and then you move the other fingers into place. That's very important. Another exercise we looked at was 1 strum changes. So in the example of that song, look at the stars, see how they shine for you. Those chord progressions, if you're having trouble with the changes, do 1 strum changes. What I mean by that, 1 strum, 1 strum. Let's see if you can move around on that pivot point, making sure the first finger stays in place the whole time. That's very important. So 1 strum changes is something that you can use to tackle that. The other one were the Jedi changes. Jedi changes basically means don't look at the fretboard when you're changing chord, because you want to build up the feel of what it is like and not rely too much on the visual on the fretboard. So, same thing, you could do it on 1 strum changes or the next exercise that I'm going to talk about in a minute. Run through the changes without looking at the fretboard. Get used to changing from one chord to the next without looking at the fretboard. That's the Jedi way. The other one is the 60-second changes. This is another sort of exercise. Time how long it takes to go from one chord to the next. So whatever your goal is in your practice schedule, let's say it's from A to E, practice 60 seconds, how many changes, perfect changes, you can make in 60 seconds. And then we'll work to improve on that number. Probably going to lie around 10 to 15 good changes the first time, a couple of times you do this. But you want to be aiming for around 30, if you can, in a minute, which would be very, very good. It's 1 every 2 seconds then. Okay, the other one, final thing on changes that I want to recap on is just don't go warp slow when you're playing a song. Don't play in time and then just before you change, really slow down and change. It sounds like this. Has that effect of sort of stumbling upon itself, and you don't want to get into the habit of doing that, because whether you realise it or not, your mind is thinking that that's what maybe you want it to do, is to slow down before changing. Okay, recapping on the click, try getting used to practicing your strumming patterns to a click track. You can go online for free ones, you can download apps onto your phones. Blackberries, Android and iPhones all have apps for a free metronome that you can use. Failing that, you can buy one from a music store, the traditional route. And while you're getting used to playing with a click track, an important thing is to tap your foot when you're playing. Get into the habit, right or left, of tapping your foot or your head or some form of your body to a pulse, so that when you're playing it feels natural to have your feet moving or your head moving whilst playing the chords. It really helps you as a musician, you know, develop this sort of sense of groove and feel in your playing, which is pretty important. If you want to be a musician, it's pretty important that you can play in time, and by developing this groove you can really start to feel what it's like to play the sort of chord progressions or the strumming patterns that you'd like to. Okay, and that's that on the click track. 5 practice tips, recap on those. Perfect practice makes perfect, not just practice. You've got to make sure that you bear in the rest of these tips in mind when you're practicing. So that's one. Number 2 was to slow things down so that you're not practicing mistakes. Very, very important, that, and one that too many people don't do. The other one, try and be as efficient in your movements as possible. So when you're changing chords, or if you, in level 2 when we look at scales, you're not moving the hand all over the place like this. It's nice small movements, as small as they need to be, and the same for the right hand. Set yourself a clear goal for each lesson or each practice session. Make it, you know, I'm going to play this chord and I'm going to play it right, and I'm going to do it 5 times for my practice session. Make it nice and small and easy to achieve. Very important, that. And finally, review all your material that you've done on your practice in that session at the end of your session. So for the last 1 minute, 2 minutes of your practice session, just really quickly whip over the things you've been covering. Makes a massive difference, I've seen in students when they do that. Okay, that's it. That's the level 1 guitar course done. Well done for getting to this part. I hope you followed it all the way through. Remember that there's an exam that you need to take at the end of this, which is over on the website, rexpearson.com. Totally free to sign up. It's just an email address. You won't get any spam, you won't get any advertisements. It's simply an online community that is hopefully going to grow with your help. So if you enjoyed this lesson and you know people that might enjoy this course or the future courses that will be dealing with intermediate and advanced guitarists, make sure you click the share links on the website. Sign up to the website might be a start, because then you get access to all of the areas, and tell your friends about it, tell your family about it, share it on Facebook, and we can grow the community and I can do more lessons like this for you. Okay, I hope you enjoyed it. Well done on reaching the end of level 1. I'll see you in level 2 where we're going to be covering some new chords, and we're really going to start motoring ahead with the playing. I'll see you in level 2.